The red sands of Thala 7 crunched softly beneath Alara Vasa's prone form as she adjusted her breathing, matching it with the calm rhythm of her heartbeat. Her rifle, affectionately named Whisper, was nestled into a groove she'd carved into the shale hours ago. The scope reflected nothing, hidden beneath a matte black coating and angled low against the horizon. Above, twin suns hung like silent sentinels, casting long shadows over the jagged canyon ridges. Heat shimmered in the distance. It made targets dance if you weren't patient. Alara was nothing if not patient. Movement. Grid Delta 7. Came Corporal Cruz's voice over the comm, clipped and calm. For hostiles, full armor. Copy, Alara whispered. Her breath fogged briefly against the cooled mask she wore. Marking leads. Through her scope, for Varkari soldiers stomped through the ravine below. Hulking, confident, unaware. Their armor glistened under the suns, black, bulky, overdesigned. She tracked the one in front, tall, sloped pauldrons, command stripes. Probably a unit leader. He carried a standard pulse carbine lazily in one hand. Then he spotted it. Her decoy. A dummy rifle she'd planted deliberately in the shadow of a broken rock spire. It looked primitive, wooden frame, polished barrel, deliberately retro. A mock-up of Earth's archaic weaponry. The Varkari commander chuckled, a low rumble carried by the audio surveillance mic hidden in her drone. Look at this toy, he sneered, lifting the decoy in his clawed hand. These humans and their sentimental junk probably belong to their woman sniper. Pity, another Varkari added. Maybe she's hiding, scared. Weak like the rest of their species. Laughter echoed. Alara's finger rested lightly on the trigger. She adjusted her scope 3 notches to the left, compensating for wind drift. Target distance, 1,183 meters. Elevation, minus 16.3 degrees. Time, less than a breath. I'm not hiding, she whispered. The shot snapped through the air. A brief burst of compressed nitrogen escaped as the round sliced through the stillness, cutting the commander's speech short mid-mock. His helmet cracked like glass, brain matter spraying against the red canyon wall in a mist of green-black. The other 3 froze. One scrambled for cover. One fired randomly into the distance. The last just stood there, blinking at what was left of his superior. Alara didn't fire again. She didn't need to. Hit confirmed, Cruz said. Nice and loud. Intended, Alara replied. Let them know we're watching. For 5 minutes the canyon was silent. The Varkari eventually fled, dragging what was left of their leader. Alara shifted onto her side, exhaled slowly, then tapped her comms. Ghost 1 to Wraith Team. Varkari recon party neutralized. Expect reaction. Copy, Ghost, came Sergeant Lin's voice. We saw the kill from here. Whole squad is rattled. Good. Let them be. An hour later, back at the team's cliffside outpost, Alara reviewed footage from her drone. The Varkari platoon had swelled from 15 to nearly 50 in the last 20 minutes. Mechs were being unloaded. Sand barricades were forming. So much for a peacekeeping presence. She flicked through images, Varkari soldiers planting false earth flags near a cliff edge. Others prepping what looked like a camera drone with human language overlays. They're staging a false flag op, she said quietly. Cruz, leaning over her shoulder, frowned. That's a war trigger. Alara nodded. And they want us to give them a reason to pull it. Lucky for them. Cruz smirked. They sent a woman sniper with a toy. She didn't smile back. Any word from High Command? He asked. They're still pretending the ceasefire's real. And if we drop more of them? We do it clean. Quiet. Tactical. Our job's to delay the lie, not spark the war. She clicked the footage off and stood, stretching her back. The armor was lightweight, but fatigue still crept in like a shadow under the suns. She grabbed a hydration pack and took a sip before heading outside. From the cliff's edge, the base below buzzed with activity. But they moved differently now, more cautious, glancing toward the ridge every few minutes. One sniper round had disrupted their rhythm. Cruz joined her, adjusting the scope on his recon binocs. What if they send Malachar next? If he shows up, I'll make sure he doesn't leave. You think he's that stupid? Ilara glanced down the scope one last time. He's arrogant. He'll come. Night on Thalos 7 fell in shades of deep indigo and silent wind. Stars lit up in droves, reflecting faintly off armor plates and gunmetal. Team Wraith went quiet. Radios down to whispers. No fires. No lights. Ilara sat with her rifle partially disassembled, cleaning it with delicate care. Her fingers worked automatically, but her mind remained sharp, watching every glint, every sound. This wasn't about vengeance. Not anymore. It was about sending a message. You mock Earth's warriors. You call us weak. You assume we won't respond. But the moment you step into our sights, you never step out. Ilara Voss crouched in the shadow of a craggy outcrop, eyes scanning the base below through low-light lenses. The Valkyrie outpost had expanded overnight. Twice the number of tents, new calm towers, and a massive dropship now anchored in the valley. They weren't pretending anymore. Behind her, Cruz and Sergeant Lin adjusted their gear in silence. No chatter. Just the soft click of mag locks, the rustle of fabric, the tightening of straps. Team Wraith moved like ghosts, practiced and invisible. Visual confirmation on Malachar? Lin asked. Ilara shook her head. Not yet. But his name keeps popping up in intercepted chatter. They're preparing for something big. Any idea what? Cruz asked. She hesitated, then pulled up the replay from the drone feed. They're rehearsing a scene. Earth banners. Fake blood packs. Valkyrie soldiers dressed in stolen human armor. Staging a massacre, Lin muttered. And pinning it on us, Ilara said. They'll broadcast it as Earth's aggression. Malachar's fingerprints are all over this. Cruz swore under his breath. You think Command will believe us? They'll believe what we show them, Ilara replied. That means evidence. And that means we go in. Lin nodded grimly. What's the plan? Ilara's voice was calm. We split. Cruz and I take the northern ridge. It overlooks their staging area. I'll tag and track Malachar if he arrives. Lin, you and Diaz take the west flank, power cells and drone docks. If we can black out their sensors, I can get closer. Silent and surgical, Lin said. No body count unless necessary. We want eyes, not blood. As dusk bled into night, Ilara and Cruz descended into the red dust valley, weaving through broken stone and shallow trenches. The moonlight bounced faintly off their adaptive suits, turning them into barely perceptible shadows. No talking now. Only hand signals. Every step placed with care. Every breath measured. They reached the northern perch, a jagged ledge that jutted out just enough to overlook the Valkyrie camp's center. Ilara unpacked her scope, sinking it to her retinal HUD. From here, she had full visibility of the drill square. Below, Valkyrie troops gathered in two ranks. A mock Earth civilian caravan, complete with crates labeled in Terran Standard, sat in the middle. One Valkyrie officer stepped forward and began barking lines in broken English. Stop, resistance, justify fire. Ilara recorded everything. Cruz, beside her, frowned. They're rehearsing a broadcast. Propaganda, she said. Make Earth the villain. Justify full invasion. Then movement near the command tent. Two guards parted. A figure emerged, taller than the rest, wrapped in segmented armor with sharp shoulders and a flowing cape. His skin shimmered silver blue under the lights. ZYNTH Malachar. Ilara zoomed in. Facial ID confirmed. The monster who orchestrated her brother's ambush on Tethys outpost. The man who called Earth's defenders paper targets. Cruz muttered. That's him. I want him isolated, Ilara said. No stray shots. I want his words. I want his face on tape giving the order. They watched as Malachar stepped forward, his voice rising above the others. Earth's cowardice ends tonight. Show them what real warriors do! The crowd roared. Weapons raised. Elara clicked on full spectrum audio. The words were damning, pure admission of a premeditated strike. Let's move, she said. We've got what we came for. But as they began to backtrack, a low hum grew in the distance, rising, pulsing, vibrating through the ground. Cruz froze. Do you hear that? Elara turned just in time to see a fleet of Valkyrie recon drones lift from a pad near the southern ridge. One turned toward them, then two, then all. They spotted us, she snapped. Break left. Now! They dove off the ledge, rolling into a dry gully as plasma fire scorched the rocks above. Dust exploded into the air. Cruz drew his sidearm and returned fire, dropping one drone mid-swoop. Elara lobbed a burst disruptor into the air. It popped in a white flash, scrambling visual sensors. Signal blackout in 30 seconds, she said, gasping as she hit the ravine floor hard. We need a new extraction route. Southwest ridge, 2 clicks, Cruz panted. There's a collapsed tunnel we can use. They ran, keeping low. The sky behind them lit up in green arcs. Another drone dove. Elara spun mid-step and fired. A clean shot, one round through its stabilizer. It spiraled and detonated in a flash behind them. They didn't stop. 20 minutes later, bruised and breathless, they emerged through the narrow mouth of the tunnel, halfway up the cliff wall. Lynn was waiting at the top with Diaz, both covered in dust but alive. You make friends down there? Lynn asked. Malachar showed, Elara said, handing over the drive. Got every word. And the drones? Most of them are scrap. Diaz smirked. I like her version of recon. Elara didn't reply. She stared out across the valley as the Valkyrie began sweeping the zone with spotlights and patrols. They were hunting now. She turned to her team. We can't just keep watching. If they find that decoy drone we left on the ridge, they'll trace it to our relay. Lynn's face hardened. Then we move it. Tonight. Cruz sighed. No rest for ghosts. No, Elara said. Not until Malachar sleeps in fear like we did. Later that night, alone on watch, Elara knelt beside her rifle and stared out over the moonlit valley. The red dust shimmered like blood. Below, the Valkyrie were shouting again, louder, angrier, spooked by their invisible hunter. She didn't smile. She just whispered to the wind, Let them mock us. Let them laugh. Her finger tapped the side of her scope. They'll be dead before it fades. Elara lay flat on a rocky ledge, body perfectly still, rifle nestled into her shoulder. Wind swept up from the canyon below, tugging gently at the camo shroud draped over her back. She adjusted her scope. 1 kilometer out, in the Valkyrie command yard, Zyth Malachar paced, hands behind his back, giving orders. He walks like he's already won. Cruz muttered in her earpiece from his perch a ridge away. Elara tracked Malachar's steps. That's his first mistake. Behind Malachar, engineers worked furiously, assembling a modular platform with emitters and comm towers. It wasn't just a propaganda set. It was a broadcast array, tuned for deep space transmission. They're going live, she said. Cruz exhaled. And we're still ghosts. No signal, no uplink. We'll change that. She tapped a command on her HUD. A translucent overlay appeared on her visor, a wireframe map of the base's layout. She'd spent the last 20 hours building it from scratch, feeding it aerial footage, heat readings, and intercepted data. Every door, vent, walkway, and tower. She knew the ground better than some of the Valkyrie guarding it. She placed a glowing marker on a narrow skywalk leading to the uplink relay tower. Malachar uses that path twice per rotation, she said. Next pass is in 11 minutes. I want him isolated. You planning to take the shot? Elara didn't answer immediately. No, she said finally. Not yet. I want him to speak first. I want him recorded ordering the strike. Cruz understood. We can send a drone close to the tower. Patch into their internal audio. Do it. Quietly. 7 minutes later, a black drone the size of a thumbtack buzzed low across the valley, dipping behind tents and scaffolding. Elara tracked its progress via her HUD. At the base of the tower, it latched onto a support beam, magnetized, and activated its relay. "Comm link secured," Cruz confirmed. Inside her ear, voices trickled through. The Valkyrie dialect shifted, formal, clipped, confident. "Malachar. Once we push this transmission, Earth won't be able to deny the aggression. Their sniper will be blamed. I want blood before dawn." Another voice. "The female?" Malachar laughed. "A shadow with a toy rifle. I'll have her body paraded before I board the cruiser." Elara's jaw tightened. She let the words wash over her. Cold. Arrogant. Sloppy. She uploaded the audio to her encrypted drive. "Got it," she said. "Now we hit him where it hurts." The first strike was subtle. Diaz, perched on a bluff overlooking the southern ammo depot, launched an EMP shard from his gauntlet. The shard arced high, invisible to radar, and embedded into the side of a fuel crate. A second later, it detonated, no fire, just a silent pulse. Lights flickered. Screens went dark. Chaos rippled through the base. Shouts. Booths scrambling. Orders barked. Generators rebooted on emergency mode, leaving gaps in the defense grid. "Elara," Cruz said. "You're up." She adjusted her aim. Malachar stood near the comm tower now, issuing orders. His personal guard had tightened, 4 armored Valkyrie flanking him. He was unaware of the drone recording his every move. He gestured toward the skywalk, likely preparing to inspect the relay himself. Perfect. Elara shifted her target to the second in command, a brute of a soldier guarding the western flank. She lined up the shot, not to kill, but to rattle. Her crosshairs hovered over the soldier's hip plate. One breath. One squeeze. The round hit with a metallic clang, shattering armor and sending the soldier sprawling. The base erupted. Sirens blared. Turrets spun in wild directions. Malachar ducked, bellowing commands. "She's here!" he roared. "Sweep every ridge! I want that sniper in pieces!" Elara was already moving, rolling back from her perch, vanishing into the rocks. Cruz covered her retreat, scattering heat-sig decoys across the hillside. Down in the canyon, Valkyrie troops scrambled. Spotlights cut through the dusk. Drones lifted again, scanning every slope. Elara slipped through their pattern, a shadow among stone. She reached the extraction path, heart steady. In her ear, Cruz spoke. "They're redirecting their comms. Trying to trace the spike. They'll find the relay if we don't move it. I've got Lin en route. He'll plant a looped signal at the decoy beacon. Buy us an hour," Elara said. "That's all we need." At the outpost, Team Wraith regrouped. The canyon glowed faintly from the fires now burning across the Valkyrie base. Lin held out a data pad. "We got the full transcript. Every threat, every lie." Elara scrolled through, eyes hard. Malachar had not only planned the false flag, he'd admitted to using captured civilians as part of it. "This is enough to bury him," Cruz said. "Not yet," Elara replied. "We don't just want to bury him. We want to break the story live. Let every system see the truth in real time." Diaz frowned. "That means broadcasting it ourselves." "Exactly," Elara said. "And we'll use his own tower." Cruz looked skeptical. "You want to walk into their base?" "Walk? No." She pointed at the map. "We fly in. One of their skiffs is docked on the east pad. Lightly guarded, internal codes still default. We ghost in, hijack the skiff, override the uplink, and stream everything. You want to embarrass Malachar in front of the galaxy?" "No," Elara said. "I want him to know it was me. I want him watching when the truth tears down everything he built." Back on the ridge, alone again with her rifle, Elara adjusted her sights. Below, the base pulsed with tension. Valkyrie soldiers moved in rigid patterns now, jumpy, alert, looking over shoulders. Their fear was growing. She smiled for the first time in days. You wanted to see the human weapon, Malakar, she whispered. You're already in my crosshairs. Rain, thin, metallic, and bitter, drizzled from Thalos 7's high clouds. Not water. Ion condensation. It sizzled against Ilara's armor as she pressed herself into the crumbling edge of the overlook. Below, a Valkyrie mech squad lumbered across the plateau, closing in on the abandoned relay site. Their scanners were active now, tuned to heat, motion, even magnetic anomalies. And they were getting close. We have 8 minutes before they reach the relay. Lynn's voice crackled in her ear. After that, they'll backtrace everything. Ilara glanced at Cruz beside her. He was pale, breathing slow, eyes sharp. Dust clung to his lashes. He nodded once. No distractions, she said. In and out. Destroy the relay. Leave no trace. They dropped from the ledge silently, boots hitting sand like whispers. Their route weaved between sharp outcroppings and deep fissures. The relay was tucked under a slanted cliff, camouflaged with heat bleed netting. It still pulsed faintly, green lights blinking like a heartbeat. Cruz pulled the control panel open. Security's still intact. I'll purge the logs. 30 seconds. Ilara knelt beside the relay, scanning the horizon. The mech squad was spreading now, fanning out. One of them paused, its head turning unnaturally, too smooth. She swore under her breath. They've got a scent. The relay let out a soft tone. Logs wiped, Cruz said. Initiating overload. Make it quick. They bolted. Behind them, the relay surged with blue light. One of the mechs turned toward it, engines flaring. A second later, it imploded, a contained collapse of energy, no fire, no smoke, just absence. As if it had never been there. Go dark, Ilara ordered. They ducked into a crevice as a drone passed overhead. It scanned once, hovered, then zipped away. Close. Too close. Lynn, she whispered. Tell me you've got eyes on that skiff. East pad. Light guard, maybe 2 sentries and a technician. No external defense grid. You'll need to hack the bay doors. We'll improvise. Night settled like a blade, sharp and absolute. The Valkyrie base buzzed with electric tension, alarms reset, patrols tightened, orders barked. But the east pad was quieter, tucked behind supply crates and cargo lifts. Cruz and Ilara crawled under a maintenance vent, bypassing motion sensors with signal jammers strapped to their wrists. They emerged behind a stack of coolant drums, 10 meters from the skiff. Ilara studied it, sleek, angular, small enough to slip through the base's perimeter unnoticed. A gift, if they could reach it. 2 guards flanked the bay. One leaned against a crate, bored, toying with his sidearm. The other paced, half alert. Cruz motioned. Your left. I take the right. She nodded. 1 breath. 2. On the third they moved. Ilara slid behind the left guard, wrapping an arm around his neck. He flailed once, then slumped. Cruz's takedown was noisier, a scuffle, a grunt, but quick. Clear, he whispered. The technician inside the skiff didn't notice them until Ilara was inside. He turned, eyes wide, but she raised her finger before he could speak. Out, she said calmly. Now. He hesitated. She raised her sidearm. He left. Inside, the skiff's cockpit hummed to life. Cruz dropped into the co-pilot's seat, fingers dancing across the control interface. Door override? Give me a second. Malakar's going live in 15, Ilara said. We hit the tower at 10. Got it. The bay doors opened with a low groan. The skiff hovered, engines warming. Then movement outside. Cruz cursed. 2 more mechs inbound. They saw the heat spike. Ilara grabbed her rifle, flipped the skiff's side hatch open. She leaned out, scope already dialed. The first mech came into view, armor catching the light. She fired. The round pierced the mech's optics, short-circuiting its visual feed. It staggered, spun, collapsed with a hollow thud. The second mech charged. Cruz pulled the skiff into the air. Hang on! Alara stayed braced in the open hatch. The mech fired, plasma bolts scorching past her head. She lined up, held steady, waited. Then fired. The bullet hit the mech's hip actuator, and it stumbled, fell sideways into a supply pylon. A final shot cracked its cranial mount. Both down, she called. Cruz whooped. We're in! The flight to the tower took 4 minutes. Long enough to trigger a dozen alerts. Alara patched into the drone relay on their approach. Malachar was already at the podium, surrounded by banners and hollow cameras. He was smiling. A fake smile. And this is what Earth has become. Cowards hiding behind shadows. Tonight we strike back. Let's cut him off, Alara said. They landed hard, landing struts grinding on the tower's upper deck. Guards scrambled to respond, but Wraith's ground team was already there. Lynn, Diaz, and 2 drones providing cover fire. Alara, your window is 30 seconds, Lynn said through grit teeth. We'll hold them. She sprinted to the uplink port, plugged in the drive, and activated the feed override. The cameras across the base flickered. Malachar paused mid-sentence. Then, her footage played. His voice. His face. The confession. The plot. Live. Across every screen. The reaction was instant. Confusion. Panic. Shouts. Some Valkyries stared, others pointed, others reached for weapons without clear targets. Malachar roared, "Cut the transmission!" But it was too late. The damage was done. Alara stood at the edge of the platform, rifle slung. She looked down at Malachar as chaos engulfed the square. For the first time, he looked uncertain. He looked human. She tapped her comms. Message sent. Diaz grinned through static. And received loud and clear. Cruz joined her at the railing. So, now what? She looked at the horizon. Now we finish it. Smoke drifted over the broadcast platform as klaxons blared across the base. The once controlled formation of Valkyrie soldiers was breaking apart, some shouting orders, others arguing, a few even lowering their weapons in disbelief. Malachar stood rigid beneath the glowing holoscreens, his face frozen in fury. The damning footage still echoed from scattered speakers. Earth's cowardice ends tonight. Show them what real warriors do. He slammed his fist into the console, cracking the edge. Find the uplink source. Shut it down. But the source was already airborne. Alara's skiff banked above the tower, its rear hatch open, wind whipping through the compartment. She lay flat against the floor, rifle braced, barrel pointed down through the scope. The glass canopy of the observation deck magnified Malachar's position perfectly. He's exposed, she said into the comm. I have line of sight. Do it, Cruz replied from the cockpit. End this. But she waited. The shot wasn't just about eliminating a threat. It was about timing. Making it mean something. Down below, Malachar rallied a squad, barking over the noise. They'll spin this. It's a fabrication. Move the cameras, now. A technician hesitated. Then dropped his datapad and ran. The base was unraveling. Alara tracked Malachar's head as he turned, eyes scanning the sky. See me, she whispered. And he did. Their eyes locked, 2 figures separated by glass, altitude, and belief. For a heartbeat, nothing moved. Then Alara fired. The round punched through the canopy, through his armor, through everything. Malachar dropped, his body folding before it hit the floor. No explosion. No scream. Just sudden, perfect stillness. A silence followed. Then chaos. On the ground, Lynn's team held position, watching Valkyrie squads scatter in disarray. Some fired into the air. Some fired at each other. The illusion of unity collapsed with Malachar's body. Sniper confirmed, Lynn said. 1 shot. He's down. Cruz, still flying low above the scene, let out a slow breath. That'll make history. Inside the skiff, Elara remained prone, staring through the scope, even as the blood beneath Malakar's body began to pool. He mocked the rifle, she said softly. Let it speak for itself. Then she sat up, locked the rifle back into its case, and latched the hatch. Let's go home. The return to the Wraith outpost was silent. No celebration. No fist pumps. Just the hum of the skiff's engines, and the quiet acknowledgement that the mission was over. Diaz met them at the landing pad, helmet tucked under one arm. Transmission reached Earth Command, he said. Confirmed broadcast hit 12 systems before Valkyrie interference kicked in. Every major channel's carrying it. Fallout? Elara asked. The Valkyrie Council is denying it, blaming a rogue general. But their own field units are hesitating. Supply drops halted. Orders stalled. They're scrambling. Cruz rubbed the side of his neck. What about us? Pulled from Thalas 7 within the hour, Diaz said. Command doesn't want a martyr. They want deniability. Figures, Cruz muttered. Elara said nothing. She stood at the edge of the ridge, looking out over the horizon one last time. The valley below was quiet again, scorched, cracked, and still. Wraith team, Lynn called. We're packing up. Shuttles inbound. Elara nodded once, then turned to follow the others. Hours later, inside the evac shuttle, she sat apart, watching the stars blur past the window. The mission logs were sealed. Her name wouldn't appear in reports. Malakar would be marked as a casualty of internal conflict. But the message had been delivered. No one would forget what they saw. Sniper, Cruz said quietly, sliding into the seat beside her. You did it. Elara didn't look away from the stars. We did it. He studied her face. Doesn't feel like a win. It never does. They sat in silence, the hum of the ship the only sound. Then Cruz asked, You think they'll try again? Eventually, she said. Someone will. Arrogance doesn't die with one man. But now they know. She finally turned to him. Now they understand what it means to mock human weapons. The footage would circulate for decades. A general's sneering face. A sniper's steady aim. One shot, clean and final. In academies, they'd study her position, her restraint, her timing. In Valkyrie circles, her name would become legend, spoken in whispers, never mocked. And in quiet corners of peace, where diplomats toasted over signed treaties and weary soldiers returned home, the story would be told. That on a distant moon, when pride marched under a false flag, a single human in the dust raised her rifle. And reminded the galaxy who they were dealing with.